Sonic, the heart of your system.
I'm the Awarded for Kit Guru here with Dave from Alphacool.
Hello.
And Dave has brought the Alphacool Eisball Digital RGB, which I think we saw at Computex.
Certainly it did, yes.
It's a reservoir, an unusual reservoir. So Dave, first show us the Eisball and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so the Eisball is, as Leo's already mentioned, digital RGB. And the main thing with this is it's spherical. So this one is the version without the pump. Now, the reason I've done that is because we can install the pump ourselves, but this is, you know, loads different than a normal reservoir. I don't think anybody's got anything quite as unique, I think the word.
Now, where we're stretching logic is we're heading towards Christmas and it's a kind of ice, because everything from Alphacool is ice.
Yeah.
And it's a ball, so it's a kind of a snow kind of thing
It's
going
almost
on.
a snowball.
Exactly. So we've got what I regard, when I saw this at Computex, it's the most bonkers reservoir I've ever seen in my life. Mounts on a regular 120mm fan.
Yeah, you've got multiple mounting options. You've got 120mm fans, you've got little brackets, you've even got a Velcro pad that if you want to mount it somewhere really strange, slap a bit of Velcro on there, and stick it to the side.
And the fact, and of course RGB, and that's addressable RGB.
Yeah, ARGB, yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, doing a video about a reservoir would be beyond us. It would be just impossible. So instead we're going to do a build. So we've got the Eisball, we've got a Gigabyte X570 motherboard along with a 12-core Ryzen 9 3900X. We've got a Be Quiet Pure Base 500 case, in white of course, kind of Christmas theme. And we've got this ridiculous great big box of Alphacool hardware. First job is to install a CPU block. Dave's using this block here. He's also brought along a Pro block which fits Threadripper, big Xeons, and also big Intel high-end desktop going back to X79. The difference is obvious to see, but we're putting that to one side. This is the what? I can't read upside down.
It's the GPX Aurora Edge. So exactly the same except without the Pro on the end.
It's very German actually. The name does say everything. Plexi digital RGB, really.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, so you're going to install that on our Gigabyte X570 Aorus Elite on the 12-core processor. I've already got the SSD and the memory installed because we're really interested here in the cooling and getting into the case and the shiny stuff.
Ooh.
It's time to peel off the protective film and then we're going to have the thermal compound conversation, which we've only had about 55 times over the years. So peel, Dave.
There we go.
How much thermal compound do you need to apply to the processor, Dave?
For us, we say just a little P-shaped blob. About that'll do it.
And you literally splodge it in the centre of the heat spreader. So none of this cross shape, no spreading, no nothing, no credit card.
No, this is the way I do it and the way I've done it for years, and with Alphacool, this is how we usually do it. The thing is, the pressure of the springs spreads the paste out enough. Don't worry if you've gone a little bit too much. Too much is better than not enough. And with this, we just pop it on.
Look at that.
Oh, it's almost like I've done it before. Almost. And then get them opposite corners done.
Engage all four threads a little bit and then we go crisscross to make sure it goes down evenly.
Yeah, that's it.
A number of times I've said this and it's you can't go wrong with that advice.
No, it's good practice for everything though. It's like the amount of times that I've done other things now, and even fans when I'm putting them on computers, you're just that used to going cross.
And the screws are going into a rubber mount on a plastic frame, and the only thing you can do wrong with it is basically do it so tight it bends it and snaps it. Yeah. You can't get it wrong. No, I'm with you on that one.
Now these, because you don't want...
I've not seen these before.
Well, they've been in all of the coolers, but to be fair, most people don't bother using them because they like quick access to it. And I know, like yourself, you've got on and off.
So it's a shroud to go over the screw.
Yeah, it's just to make it look pretty. You just put the rubber grommet on first, and then you put the metal bit over the top, and it just makes it look pretty.
Lovely.
See?
And the electrical connector going to the block is for lighting. Obviously, there's no power going to the block for fan or any such, or pump. It's a block. The power is elsewhere, and we've got an adapter cable over there, which goes in like so, which is
this one.
addressable RGB.
Yep. So this is addressable RGB, and if you notice, they've got actually like 2 headers on.
So you can daisy chain?
So you can daisy chain, so instead of worrying about, oh no, I've only got one header on my motherboard, doesn't matter, you can plug everything else into
one header on motherboard, and then you can, so your Eisball, your graphics block, your CPU block. Have we got any other RGB going on?
We can throw some stuff in. We've got some stuff for tubes, make the tubes glow, why not?
Have you yet got RGB radiators?
We haven't at the moment.
No, there is a company who does do RGB on the radiators. So yes.
Depending on when this video comes out.
Oh really? Oh okay. Oh there we go.
At CES we might have an RGB all-in-one cooler with the panel.
I genuinely didn't know that. I really hope you haven't got yourself in trouble. Dave's been doing good work. He's installed the straight power 11 power supply in the Be Quiet 500 case. We've put the air-cooled graphics card in just to check for length. And what are the parts you've got in from Alphacool at the moment, Dave?
We've got the NexXxos V2 360 in the front. And unfortunately, somebody's been sensible and won't let me try and fit 3 radiators into this little case. So we've gone for a 120 in the back. Again, it's the NexXxos V2.
The case is the 500 from Be Quiet. It's a compact case. You can see you've got the PCI Express screws on the outside of the frame. Okay, so it's a small case. Dave asked Be Quiet to send white hardware, so they sent this case. He was kind of thinking they might send the 900, which they don't do in white, which is multiple radiator case. So we've got the compact 500. We're doing common sense. This is a sensible build. Is the idea. Anyway, so we've got the 360 rad in the front. It's an ST30 thickness. We've got the unions at the bottom. Obviously the graphics card, it's not obvious. The graphics card is going to have a block on it, and we've got the CPU block in place. And now we've got the Eisball.
The Eisball. So the plan with the Eisball, I think, is pop him up here.
Yep, let's just turn it so the nice people can. There we go. And
I'll
hold it. Yeah, I'll hold it.
You can hold me ball.
Yeah. It's gonna go. You couldn't see that coming, could you? And that's gonna go at the top. And this is gonna have the pump in the bottom. So it's a pump res unit. So it definitely looks unusual, that's for sure. But amazingly, and I genuinely have my doubts about this, I didn't like to say earlier, it looks like it's going to fit cleanly, so hurrah for planning. Because if you just start putting in hardware, it goes wrong quickly. So this is looking highly plausible. Dave has removed the stock Be Quiet fans because they're black, and we've got 8 120mm fans. We're going to use 3 at the front.
6 fans.
1 at the rear, 2 in the rear. Yeah, 6. Okay, so we've got 2 surplus, so that's fine. So all looking good. So now it's time to actually build the thing for real.
Yeah, let's take all this out and hopefully make sure everything looks pretty.
No problem. First part of the prep is installing the graphics block on the RTX 2080. Over to you, Dave.
Beautiful. So that's the one we're going to use. Nice and clean.
Fittings in the box in the end.
All the bits.
Put the packaging back in and we'll build. Let's reach across.
Oh, look at that. Nice and easy. I always like to get this prepped before taking the card apart. Nice way of doing it.
Right, so inside, so the block is nickel-plated copper.
Yeah, all full nickel-plated copper.
Well, they're tiny, absolutely tiny.
This one's doing it though.
Excellent, good.
Yeah. Couldn't see for looking then. I was looking for little screws and missed the massive ones. And hopefully
should just come off reasonably easily. There we go.
Thank you. And these are already loose. And now we need a little hex socket.
Should be a 4, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, winner. I was doing a thing with Linus a little while ago, and I was showing him how the socket on one of the normal screwdrivers fits these perfectly. What I didn't realise is the iFixit kit has got a really strong magnet on the inside of this. So I undone one and it went straight inside. And that was it. There was no getting it out. I was like, I'm sorry.
rather than chit chat, let's actually do some official work for a moment. So when you're, obviously water cooling a CPU is easy peasy. I mean,
Yeah.
CPU block, it barely gets any easier. Graphics, on the other hand, you need a block that is specific. But in terms of percentage advantage, liquid cooling CPU, liquid cooling your graphics, if you're picking one, which would you liquid cool?
Oh, me personally, graphics card, especially
Exactly.
if you're gaming or rendering, chuck a block on a graphics card, you get far more performance. And the thing is, it's not just about keeping the graphics card cold to say, oh, my graphics card's cold, look at me. You do actually gain performance because you don't throttle as early, and it's it's a lot easier to keep the graphics card temperatures under control. You're removing the heat completely out of the system.
And typically you're finding CPUs, I know nominally you're looking at 125 watts or 95 watts or whatever, but in practice a Core i9 sucks 180 watts
Yeah.
at 4.7 gigahertz. So your CPU is actually approaching 200 watts. This is the same power.
Yeah.
So your CPU and your GPU these days, if you're talking multiple 8 cores and up, same amount of power, essentially, same amount of heat to deal with.
Yeah.
So yes, if you're liquid cooling, then to my mind, everybody goes CPU first and then maybe GPU second or both together. I've never seen a system that is liquid cooling on the GPU, air cooling on the CPU, even though that might make sense.
Yeah,
You're air cooling around the VRMs and so on. It's not a crazy thing. I've literally never seen that in my life.
No, I can't say that I have.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever built one like that.
No.
But as you mentioned, the GPU you've got a lot more on a GPU and that's prone to.
And where have you spent your money? I mean, this RTX 2080 cost me £750. It's a founder's edition. CPUs on the other hand, 500 is a fair amount for a CPU. We know you can go higher, of course you can, but this is where my money's been spent. I want to look after it, so I'm all in favour of liquid cooling on GPUs.
Yeah. I'm all in favour of liquid cooling everything.
Yes.
Liquid cool everything I've got to eat.
Says the guy from the modder from the liquid cooling company. Yeah, quite. Okay, so alcohol to clear off the GPU.
Yeah. Is this the bottle to use? I just grabbed one.
Yep.
I don't know what's in there. You've got
99.9. I've got another bottle.
I was going to say you've got a nice little selection of things I could have picked up there. I don't know what they are, so.
So here's a question. How much liquid cooling do you require? How many units? Most people have a rule of thumb, which is 120mm units. They need 1 + 1 for each item. So that would be a 240 would do you a CPU or a GPU, or a 360 would do you CPU and GPU. And the rads here are ST30's 30mm thickness, which is standard thickness. Go.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, 1 unit per item plus 1 is how I say it. But yeah, exactly the same as what you said. But the difference is if you want to keep temperatures down as well as audio down, don't be afraid to go with an extra one, because then if you've got 3 fans running at 33% rather than 2 fans running at 50%, you've kept the audio down, but you're still doing, accomplishing the same feature. So that's what I do. So the more fans you have, to a certain point, the quieter it goes. It does reach the realms.
With an all-in-one, you typically find a fan is running reasonably quietly, about 1,000 RPM.
Yeah.
I find with custom loop cooling, 500 or some such is the fan territory I'm looking for, which is, you can't hear it, can you?
No, exactly. You can go really whisper quiet. I've got some systems that you turn on and go,
Is that on? Yeah.
is that on?
Yeah.
And I hear my NAS kicking up louder than that.
Preparation of graphics blocks, so thermal pads to go on the VRMs and the memory. You follow the manual, they're specific to the thing we understand. You've got different thicknesses. Really basic question though, why thermal pads rather than gloop?
Well, we've actually got some new thermal pads, which you don't know about yet, I don't think.
I have seen a
Oh, you've
sneaky
seen them?
photo, I saw some news about this, which is why I'm kind of subtly leading you into this.
Okay, so thermal pads basically just covers the imperfections in the block, imperfections in the chips, and covers that part, and then transfers the heat from the part to the component.
Right.
What we've got is hard pads here. The only problem with these is if you over tighten stuff, which can happen, especially if you get the wrong block for the wrong card, something like that, you're putting pressure on everything and you can have problems. You can bend the PCB. So these are really easy to get hold of, really cheap as well to make, and that's why they've been used for everything. There wasn't an alternate. However, if you look on the Nvidia
stock
Founders
cooler,
Edition
right, yeah.
stock cooler, they have these, which are thermal pads still,
Yep.
but they are sticky, they're
Yep.
gloopy, and you can see the indentations in them far more than on a thermal pad.
Yep.
And we've actually released something very similar to this now, and it's basically a thermal paste with a layer of cotton through the middle.
Yes,
that
yes.
holds it in place, and that's what we're using now.
And are they
in the new stuff.
reusable, or once you've used them and they're squished, then fix
If
the
you're
new
using
one?
it on the same product, it'll be fine because you're putting it onto the same
Okay.
thing. But if you're putting it on a new product, you would have to get new ones.
And obviously thermal pads have protective plastic on both sides,
Yeah.
as with the CPU thing, make sure you remove it, otherwise it's obviously a barrier rather than a conductor. Do you have a preference for peeling off the thick or thin side first?
I peel off the thin side
Right.
first, put it on, and then the thick side is
Okay.
easy to peel. But with these, we do have to cut them down a little bit. And the good thing about them is you actually got a big red sticker
Yep.
on the bag, and then the red in the manual,
Yep.
so you can, and then the other one has yellow, so we need them for the back plate, these for this.
So broadly speaking, if you can't put red on red and yellow on yellow and follow the cutting guide, then this might be beyond you anyway.
Or you're
Yeah.
colourblind.
Are people yellow colourblind?
I don't know.
No,
might
red
be.
green. Red
Red
green's
green,
got-
is
yeah,
it?
no, red green. If it was red and green, that'd be mean. But
I might get that changed. I'm only kidding, I'm only kidding.
You're doing something I've never actually seen before, which is you're putting the thermal pads across 2 memory chips at a time, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I always follow the cutting guide, which has individual pieces on each component.
On ours, it actually says you can do 2 at a time.
That is the first one. That just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a gap between the chips, but what of it? It doesn't matter.
Don't matter at all.
So my 8-chip card, where I'm going to put 8 thermal pads, only needs 4.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I feel stupid.
I've been doing this way for years, and I always thought, will it work okay? And I've always done it because I'm lazy, and I thought, I hope this is okay to do. And
You're
then
blazing a trail.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
when I started with Alphacool, I saw the manuals properly. I'm like, oh, okay,
Oh, fine.
I'm allowed.
So here we're going outboard of the chokes, but the important point is we want to be on the VRMs.
Yes,
that's
that's
the bit
right,
we're
yeah.
cooling.
Yeah,
So
the
therefore you don't want to
VRMs.
go either side.
No.
And so it's forget the cuts to this precise width. That's not the point. It's just
No,
make
it's
sure you're on the
making sure it's
VRMs.
there, yeah. Thermal pads don't conduct electricity anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's on everything really, but obviously for the
You
graphics
want
card,
good
you need it
thermal
on.
contact. That's
Yeah,
what it's all about.
Yeah, and we're going to cut that one down a little bit because there's nothing uglier than seeing a thermal pad from the side.
Well, there's quite a lot that's more ugly. I mean, that's
Yeah, I
all the
didn't
long,
want to say
long-
anything to you on here, mate, but I think you're pretty.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave. Work faster. I want you gone.
Yeah, that's it. All right then, so we're just going to do a quick, before we put thermal paste on, just put a little bit of a test fit just to make sure everything...
You've got the right block for the
Yeah.
thing. Because you've got different graphics blocks and potentially you've got the wrong block. I mean, in this instance, for example, this GPX block says 2080 Ti M02 because this block fits both 2080 and 2080 Ti. Some manufacturers, their blocks are specific to one or the other, so you need to be doubly careful. And this says Gigabyte 2070 wind force ready, so it's ready for you've got a better chance of the block like this that it's going to fit your particular graphics card.
Yeah.
But if you aren't certain, what would you be looking for to see what is fitting, what's contacting? Are you looking for impressions in thermal pads or
Yeah,
something else?
so the way I do it is I turn it round and then flip it over, and you can see that the raised parts go onto the parts on here. Obviously that one's not got a thermal pad on,
Yep.
but on here you've got no memory
Yep.
there, so you don't need
Because
it.
it's a 2080, not a Ti.
Yeah, so this do for 2080 Ti. And so that's the way I do it. And obviously when you do have it together, just check that the PCB isn't bowed anywhere, you're not fouling anything. And as long as that's like that, it's fitting. So that's the way I do it. So now we can put some thermal paste on.
Okay, now earlier on I was asking about CPU. So CPU, it was a pea-sized blob of. With a GPU, you're talking bare die rather than heat spreader. Do you go crazy crackers and plaster it, or do you restrain? Which is your preferred?
No, I normally just go a little bit more than what I would on a CPU, but not much more. So that'll,
Okay.
you know, it's just a slightly bigger blob. It doesn't matter if you go, obviously, on the side of this, that's fine.
It's an aesthetic thing. It's cosmetics and squidging and
Yeah,
looking horrible
exactly,
rather.
yeah.
Okay, fine.
And you've seen some of them things that come out of the
Yes.
manufacturers.
Yes,
They
can be
make sure
horrendous.
it's
I have
covered.
occasionally seen people that have applied thermal compound onto the thermal pads.
Yeah, we can do
Now,
that.
it looks weird. It probably doesn't yield any benefit. Is it a problem?
It's not, if you've definitely got a thermal paste that has got no conductivity,
Yes.
you're perfectly fine.
Right.
If you're using something that like a liquid metal,
No, no, that's a whole different league.
Yeah.
Liquid, we're not going with liquid metal. We're talking regular.
or even there's some thermal compounds that are, of course, conductive. I can't think of any brands at the top of my head, but there are some, and don't use that and as long as you're doing that and make sure it's not conductive.
Are you thinking about the ones that have silver in them?
No, it's I'm not sure which one it is. I used one before, and it had actually said on the package, conductive thermal paste.
Right.
Do not use on.
Okay, so warning.
Yeah, and it did have a warning on.
I've actually got a name in mind, but I'm not going to say it just in case I'm
yeah.
wrong because.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think I know which one it is, but I'm not sure. So that
We'll
looks
compare
good.
notes when the camera's off.
Yeah.
Do you want to put this on the box or do you?
Yeah, that'd be ideal. Yeah, yeah. It's a nice little tip once you're putting a
Yeah.
card on. Put a box, or I use the edge of tables,
Yep.
and it means that the graphics card stays flat, and you're all good. So this needs to come over a little bit. By the looks of it, to about there. Perfect. We put a screw in.
If you were being semi-serious for a moment, if you were using multiple graphics cards, which these days isn't really a thing, so if you were changing the manifold, do you do it before you put the block on the card, or can you do it after? Is it a get it done up front job?
If you know what you're going to do, put it on before.
Yeah.
If you're not sure, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can do it after. But if you do more prep before you start working, it's a lot easier.
Everything's easier on the bench.
Yeah, exactly. Once it's inside your computer, and yeah. Right then. So next, we have yellow.
Right.
Yellow. Nice and easy. Nice and easy.
So I'm just trying. Sorry, I was just going blank there. So I was actually trying to remember seeing you peeling off the protective plastic on the other side, and of course you got the bits over there. It happened so blooming quickly, I didn't even notice it. It's it's one of those things because when you do, if you peel the thick off first and you're trying to fiddle off the thin, it takes a lifetime, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
an absolute pain.
So I just peel the first one off there, and then as you put it down, you kind of fold it so it's already half off.
So that's on the back of the GPU.
Yep. Then we're doing.
And this is where backplates, apart from, I mean, aesthetically, that's actually fairly average. It's some anodized black aluminium with a logo on it. But obviously, it's also it's a heatsink.
Yes,
even though it's not
indeed,
thin, there's a lot of aluminium area there, and so the heat's going to transfer from the back of the GPU, which gets frankly stinking hot, and it's going to transfer to this, which is. So apart from it looks a lot better than the PCB, because PCBs look fairly terrible, but it's got a function to play.
Yeah, that's it. The backplates do take away quite a bit of heat, unless what you can do as well though is actually do it the other way, where you hold in the heat. So I've used some acrylic backplates before.
No.
Without heat sinks.
Yeah, no,
metal
I completely
ones,
agree. No, it's specifically aluminium. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely I agree. It's
so you have to be careful.
Yes, heat sink, heat shield, heat barrier.
Yeah.
Barrier bad. No. It's
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That's those ones, and then these ones.
Actually, on the subject of heat transfer, have you done anything with metal tubing, metal piping?
Yeah.
What's your thinking there? Because with plastic tubing, whether it's hard or soft, you're transferring heat to the heat exchanger, the radiator, and then it's going into the airflow. Whereas with the metal tubing, it's actually part of the loop. To your mind, is that a detail, or is it actually significant?
It'd be very minor. Right. Any heat transfer through metal tubing would be negligible, really. It would still work as a heat transfer because obviously you're going from metal to,
yes, quite.
And it says our metal tubing is brass as well, so it's
which says proper material, exactly.
Yeah,
So I was just suddenly thinking, whereas when you're using plastic tubing, the tubing gets kind of warm to the touch, but it's having no part of the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's a transfer mechanism rather than part of the heat exchanger.
Good to me. So that's that bit done. Now we need
backplate.
the back. And what I do like about this block is the all slots inside itself, so it just looks like a single unit. And then this just screws down. Oh, we've got the 4. We'll do them 4 first because that's the GPU. diagonals.
Particularly when you're clamping down on your rather expensive GPU, and it's a bare GPU, so therefore you could potentially crush the thing, knock a corner off or something.
Yeah.
If you're brutal with it, you can destroy it.
Yeah, so what I
if
always
you're
do
brutal.
is I go down so it's nipped but not completely tight, then nip it at the end and tighten them up.
And if you got it wrong, you notice when your GPU starts at 90 degrees and climbs from there. Yes, it's, you learn very, very quickly.
And that's if it
wrong.
turns on. It's not my GPU anyway, I could use a hammer for this.
No. It's my
hammer and
GPU that was bought retail, so no, that would be really quite bad.
That's all we need, hammer and nails. Right, and that is the block done. We can give it a little clean up whilst we're, well, got the fingerprints on it. So we can do it
Alcohol to
inside.
clean that or not?
No,
Right,
you don't want to use alcohol because although this is, I believe it's anodised, you're not 100% sure. And you want to try and use just a nice little contact cleaner or your little foam cleaner or something like that. And then, oh, you've actually got proper contact cleaner, look at you.
Ta-da!
Well, you can do it directly onto there with this one. Normally you're not meant to spray directly onto the product, but with contact cleaner you can.
Yep.
Look at that, and it's fast drying as well, look at that. That's nice stuff, isn't it?
I've impressed you, haven't I?
Yeah. Doesn't take much, a little bit of
Decent
contact
screwdriver,
cleaner.
contact cleaner, happy man.
Look at that.
Lovely job. So that's the block and back plate installed and ready for action. Oh, hang on.
Got a little sticky bit there.
Here we go. Now we've got rid of the piece of waste plastic.
There we go.
Happy.
Happy as Larry.
Next part of the prep, pump into Eisball.
Yeah, so inside here, which we could have just prepped before, which I wasn't. I was too busy playing on my phone.
Yeah.
We have a special little tool.
Okay, this is news to me.
Yeah, so we have somewhere, I believe we have, unless my head's gone. Ah, there we go.
I was going to say, after that build-up, you can't then let us down. So what's this do?
Special little tool. So the idea with this is that it helps you to undo.
Okay, so it's
the
the locking
bottom.
collar that's inside the watts. It does the thing.
So yeah, it's the thingamabob that does the what's it called. So
And
you
are
can
you
take that out.
okay installing the pump with the bracket already on? Does it make no difference?
No, it doesn't really make a difference. You should do it before, but because we want to do a little test to see how it fits, it doesn't really matter.
Right, now this is a VPP 655 pump as opposed to a D5. So what's the difference? In the main, there are DDCs and D5s and some other variants. What's this all about? What's the 655?
The 655 is the D5 variant. So this one is the same as the D5s you'd normally see. We do actually do one called the 755.
Yeah,
and
indeed.
we're just onto V3 on that now.
Right.
And the 755 is the same as the D5, but it's slightly shorter and it's got a few more control options. So instead of just being PWM or controlled by the little screw on the back.
Do you call that Vario? I think
the Vario.
That is. Okay.
Yeah, Vario's at the EK's branded one, but yeah, it's just a
Same
controller really. It says a variable rate, so it's about right. But with the 755, you can set that to say 3, and then also plug in one of the PWM adapters, and you can actually change it. So it'll be PWM until it gets to 3. So you can set a limit.
Right. Okay.
So you can set some new stuff, and after CES, when you no doubt you'll see something else on the Kit Guru channel.
Okay. I think I might have a clue what that might be, but I don't know officially.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it makes it to CVS first.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know with last year's shipping craziness in the US was...
Looking forward to this.
Yeah, a bit crazy. So I'm just going to go down. We're going to have it that way round inside the case so that they're going down.
Right.
So what we can do is we know that this side will be against the wall of the case. So if you make sure that goes out there, it just makes it look prettier when it's inside.
And also, no matter how you choose to orient it in the case, whatever happens, the base of the pump is always against the mount. Therefore, the Vario stroke variable controller is always inaccessible once you're installed. So this is the stage where you need to pick a number, And if you set your pump to say 5 out of 5 and it's howling away at full speed, you'll know, because that's 4,000 RPM or something.
Yeah, I'm not even quite sure what it is on these anymore because it's just
different pumps. It's
4800, is it?
But fast.
Yeah.
And lots of action. So I generally go for the midpoint. I mean, midpoint's generally good.
Yeah, I've got mine set at 3. It's normally good.
But once it's in place, you ain't changing that, which is why, frankly, the PWM versions, I prefer them because you can control it from your BIOS there or your motherboard software thereafter.
That's why I like the VPP755 because you get a bit of both. You can set the controller and...
In this case, that's just a tacho. It's just a sense. It's not a control. It's just a report.
That's right, yeah. It just tells you where you are. There we go. And that is it.
Excellent. So that's the Eisball with pump. We've got the... subtle cabling, which I know you just want to shorten and modern sleeve. We've got the tacho and we've got the RGB connection for the lighting. We can put that to one side. And next up, it's fans and radiators. Yeah. I'm in the background here as a disconnected head while Dave's going to install fans on radiators. So to recap, we've got a 360 going at the front, obviously 3 fans, 2 fans in the roof, and a 120 rad at the rear with a fan on that. That's 6. So while Dave does that, I'm going to move to one side and ask stupid questions about fans.
Oh.
And this is entirely unprepared. So, any preference for 120 or 140mm fan units?
I like 120mm, just mainly because if I stick to one size, I know that I've got 360 rads, 240 rads, 120mm, and as long as I keep 120mm fans at home as well, everything just works nicely together. And you normally find more support for 120 than 140 in cases. Yep. So it's just something I've always done. It's very rare to use anything else.
And so you don't mix 120 and 140 in the same build?
No.
Because that's painful to you, okay.
No.
200mm fans?
200mm fans.
Any views on the subject?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of them. Big fan. Hey. See what I did there?
So about 3 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I don't like them particularly. They're nice in terms of you do get a lot of fan area, you know, so a lot of cooling space, but no one really creates a good static pressure fan for 200.
And you get other oddball sizes. Occasionally you get things like 180s crop up, but again, there's about 1 or 2 on the market, so good luck with that.
Then also we do our 40mm and 80mm radiators, which you struggle to get fans for.
Yes, quite 80s, and also, do you do 92 as well?
Yeah, 92 as well, yeah.
But they're mainly presumably for industrial use. Therefore, you've got some bizarre cooling requirement and you need to put a cooler in this whatever space.
92mm is actually used quite often in smaller cases, like, cases like, I don't know, Dan case and things like, the really small form factor cases. And that's what we keep the 92mm for. And we're actually doing a 92mm ST30 soon, because at the moment we do a 45. So I've been doing some smaller cases recently and found that the 45 is just a bit too thick. So I asked for a 30mm and we're going to do them soon.
45 for the bare radiator plus the fan thickness.
So now you get a 30 plus the 25 of the radiator, and it's quite, well, it's to be like that. Which is a lot more useful.
Same package, I think it's just smaller footprint.
And we're thinking possibly of doing them as an AIO as well, possibly for people who want to AIO into a small system, because sometimes you haven't got the option to have a full loop inside of these tiny cases anyway. So we're just having a look into that at the moment, and hopefully that'll be something that we do quite well with, because I love little cases at the moment. I used to like the big cases, and now I've gone back down to I want to do more small builds. And
when you say big, little, small, in that context, this 500 from Be Quiet, are you saying this is medium or small?
I'd say this is quite big, personally.
Because some of the Mini ITX stuff, I mean, some Mini ITX is tiny, and some Mini ITX is actually quite big.
Yeah, indeed.
So just going by form factor isn't really much of a guide.
No, that's why one of the things that I really hate, and it winds me up as a modder rather than a representative of Alphacool, is small cases, ITX cases, that you can fit 360mm rads in. I was like, that's not an ITX build.
Right.
You don't need it.
I can't remember what a case from the past, and the ITX board actually went on horizontally in the thing, and as a result, it was a medium-sized case, but it could only take a small motherboard, and it was just okay. I mean, if that's what you want, great, but it's not mainstream. Fan configuration: push, pull, push, pull. What's your views?
Personally, the difference is minimal. Push pull's really good if you've got the space, but you don't mind the audio, because obviously the more fans you have, you can reduce the speed of them, but generally the more noise you have. But I personally like just have push on the intake and then push on the outtake, and just make it so it's all universal.
And so do you want the fans outside of the radiator or inside the radiator?
So you want them on the outside, so like we've done on this one here, you can see the fan, the radiator's hidden, and then on the front we'll see the fan, the radiator's on the inside. And it's a nice way of doing it.
Right, now my preference is to have fans outside because I don't want them inside where the cables are. And also I don't want to stick my fingers in them. I mean, is that kind of more from a practical point of view, whereas other people like to have them visually...
Yeah, I've always done it this way because first and foremost I was a modder before I did anything, and visuals were more important than anything else. And in terms of performance, it's fine, as long as you're not going crazy having like 16 fans and taking only one out, you're all right.
Yes, yeah. Well, we can see the case ballooning gently. Yes, yeah. It's only 3mm steel, so.
Yeah.
What else? So, what radiator thickness would dictate you now need push pull, or isn't there a radiator thickness? Because we're talking ST30s here, which are conventional. Next step up 45, then you get 60s, and you can sometimes get 80s, which are just
and then we've got our big boy monsters that are 96, I think it is.
Oh, they're as big as that? I thought they were 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
So at what stage in the game do you now need push-pull?
I think with the different fin technology and stuff, you don't need it ever. But
I wanted that on the record, because that was my thinking as well.
But anything over 60, it's nice. Or 60 and above. If you can do it, you might as well. You're not going to lose anything. And even as low as 30, I very rarely use push-pull, because I think if you've got a 30mm radiator with push-pull, you might as well have gone up to a 60 radiator
because
with
you've
push.
got 25mm either side, and suddenly the package is very, very thick.
Yeah.
And it takes up a colossal amount of space. I mean, that's suddenly you can't get your graphics card in or whatever. It's not inconsiderable.
Right, how are we looking there? Oh, look at that. We're getting there now. We're going to have to scoot around the front or turn the case this way.
Yep. So that's a 120 fan and radiator at the rear, 2 120 fans in the roof, and now we need to put the 3 fans in the front along with that rad. Front radiator installed, all the fans in place, and now it's time for the Eisball, which is going. Let's just offer it up, Dave, and just check it's going to... No, you need to offer it from your side.
You want me to do it for me?
I'm on the wrong side of things.
That means I have to move. Right. So hopefully it'll go in.
Yeah, that's going to work.
Like that. You
right.
Happy with that?
Yep. Excellent.
So then we can do that, get that installed, and then
onward.
Move on.
That's the Eisball installed on the front radiator. So question is, what's next?
Graphics card. We'll pop the graphics card in.
And then we'll string the loop together. And we're going to go with soft tubing to make life easy.
Yes.
And are we going for lots of RGB, or are we going for a quiet build? What's your thinking?
Well, it's a Christmas theme, isn't it? It's got to look like a Christmas tree.
Bling. Okay. Oh, good. I'm liking this. So graphics card and then loop time.
Yes.
This is the cooling loop work in progress, so going from the graphics block to the rear radiator, from the rad to the CPU block. CPU will go to the Eisball pump res, down to the front radiator, and then from the rad back to the graphics block. That all makes perfect sense. These unusual fittings here are not part of the cooling system as such, they are pure RGB, and they're going to illuminate these soft tubes to give it some extra zing. That's the loop finished, and now Dave is going to fill the Eisball, which is a process I've never seen before. So the top is, as it were, at 9 o'clock, so he's going in horizontally, and I think just to make myself feel better actually, I'm going to pass in some kitchen towel.
I've already found a little bit, because I'm not sure how this is going to go. Normally what I do is lie the front down, which we probably will do after, but if I can get this in a little bit and just give it a little squeeze, that's better. That works. That's going to be a nightmare. Yeah, so what we need to do is actually turn that on to get the pump to start filling there.
And with the case on its nose, everything is now good. The air is rising vertically and it's going well. Is that bottle a litre bottle?
Yeah.
Wow, so we just about got a litre of coolant. That's a bigger loop than I expected. I mean, I know it's a 360 and a 120, but...
Yeah, we're not even...
I didn't expect that.
Let's just put that in for me. In fact, I'll just put my finger there. Bloop, 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 bloop. And there's loads of bubbles in there coming out.
Oh, look at that.
And now it's like that. We can even put a bit more in. Oh, look at how quiet it's gone already. That's nice, isn't it? And look at that for... this is how confident we were. There was zero tissue inside the case. So, do as I say, not as I do.
We appear to have developed a loop that requires precisely 1 litre of coolant.
Yeah, that's not too bad, is it?
So far, not a drop spilled, and there's exactly the right amount. Brilliant.
There we go.
And in with the stop.
Yeah, so this has got a little O-ring as well, a little rubber O-ring, so you have to make sure you remember that.
That's it, we're done. Our Christmas theme has been somewhat limited by the Gigabyte RGB control software because we can either have kind of the random colour marquee or we can pick one colour. We wanted to go green, red, green, red, green, red, but it won't let us do that, or something a bit more special. But no, what you got is random colour marquee, so there we have it. Other than that though, it's worked as planned. We've got the Eisball working, which is the main thing, and it fitted and it works and it's happy and everything's good. And we've had some slightly peculiar conversations about fans and such like, and the order of cooling loops and all other nonsense like that. So it's been a good experience. We're happy. Many thanks to Dave from Alphacool.
Thanks for having me.
I won't wish you a happy Christmas just yet because we're actually still a fair way off from Christmas, but it's feeling closer now. So thanks to Alphacool. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the bell button, subscribe. We'll alert you to new videos as they become available. I'm Leo from Kit Guru, and this is an Alphacool build by Dave Alcock of Alphacool.